Hey everybody, it's Ron and welcome back to Conan Book Club. I'll be going through this edition of Conan and telling you guys what I thought of each story, and today I'm going to be talking about a story called The Tower of the Elephant. I have to say this is by far my favorite story so far, and from what I've heard, this is a lot of Conan fans' favorite story as well. So this covers Conan during his thief period, and it takes place in Zamoria with some really flowery descriptive writing in the beginning that really sets the scene for the type of environment that Conan is in. And I also like that it starts off with Conan basically hanging out in a bar. Wouldn't it be awesome to go to a bar with Conan for a night? That would be wild, but anyway, Conan overhears someone talking about a jewel called the Heart of the Elephant, which is kept in a huge tower owned by a sorcerer named Yara. And this grabs the attention of Conan, and he doesn't want to back down from a challenge, so he ends up going on a mission to steal this gem. And this is definitely the most absorbing story from this collection so far. It sucks you right in, and the simple premise and idea of this whole story taking place in this tower is great because you pretty much get everything you'd want in a Conan story all in one. There are guard lions for Conan to fight off, and even some sci-fi-ish elements later on, which was surprising. The addition of another thief named Taurus is interesting as well. It makes the story exciting from the get-go because you know that they're both going for the same object, and the whole time they're working together, you're wondering what's going to happen when both of them reach the top and get to what they want. And the conclusion of this part reminded me a little of the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark when Indiana Jones' companion goes with him to get an object and ends up dying in a horrific way, and the same type of thing happens to Taurus. At first, Conan doesn't know how he died, and the tension ramps up when he realizes it's a huge spider bite, and that's when Conan has to face off against a giant spider as the last challenge before he reaches the heart of the elephant. As always, the action is so well written and it's always exciting and fast paced. I also love the length of this story. It's perfect. It gets you in and out and it's never boring, and yet it doesn't feel rushed at all. There's also a lot of lore peppered into this story, and I think these are all reasons why most people hold this particular Conan story in such high regard. So as much as I loved the adventure aspect of this story, the last section is what really got me and surprised me. And that's when Conan finally reaches the location of the heart of the elephant. And instead he finds a humanoid alien creature with a man's body. And we find out that Yara had enslaved this being called Yagkosha. And this whole idea was fascinating to me because when I decided to start reading Conan, I was expecting some pure sword and sorcery and mostly fantasy type elements, and this was so out of left field, and that's why I love it, because this Yagkosha character, who by the way has a full elephant's head, that's why they call it the Tower of the Elephant. Anyway, he explains to Conan that he's from another planet, and he traveled here with more of his kind years and years ago, and he obviously knows a lot about the history of this Hyborian age. And that's so cool that Robert E. Howard introduces a literal alien into his fantasy story, and it doesn't seem out of place somehow. I thought at most there would be magic and fantastical creatures, but not alien beings, which makes this such an interesting ending. And it's also satisfying because even though Yagkosha orders Conan to kill him, he still gets his revenge on Yara by having Conan take out his heart and drain the blood onto the gem near Yara, and this makes Yara shrink and eventually die by the gem and Yagkosha. But in the end, Conan is left with nothing other than what he came into the tower with. So again, like the Frost Giant's daughter, for example, this is another very surreal tale where even Conan wonders if he had dreamt the whole thing. So yeah, crazy concepts like this just make me want to read more Conan. So I'm glad this was one of the earlier stories, and I hope the idea of Yagkosha and his alien race weren't just a one-off. I'd be interested to read more stories like this, but I don't think he'll be coming back again, or anybody from his line of people. I really enjoyed this story, and it's definitely one of the sections I'd come back to once I finish this whole collection. So let me know what you think about this story if you've read it, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.